Hey, Ascend family, welcome back to the Ascend Bible Church podcast. I'm Pastor John, joined here by Pastor Mitch.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening to this.
All right, covered them all. So today we are covering the last part of Mark for a little bit.
Yep.
We're looking at the end of chapter 11, 27 through 33. So you preached this yesterday. Anything before we jump in and read?
Yeah, do you want to tell them that you've not listened to it yet?
Sure. I haven't listened to the sermon yet. I was at the Rock Bible Church yesterday. I did listen to the first 2 minutes, and I saw the clip on Instagram. So that is literally
that's
all that I have.
That's all that he has. So if he asked me, did you say this yesterday? Or I think he's not listened to this yet. So
right.
It could be better.
It could be. We're kind of just going to walk through the passage together and just see where we end up. And that's the plan.
Let's do it.
So I'll start reading. I'll read from 27 to 33. Sound good?
Yep.
And they arrived again in Jerusalem. And while Jesus was walking in the temple courts, the chief priests and teachers of the law and the elders came to him. By what authority are you doing these things? They asked. And who gave you the authority to do this? Jesus replied, I will ask you one question. Answer me, and I will tell you by what authority I am doing these things. John's baptism, was it from heaven or from human origin? Tell me. And they discussed it among themselves. If we say from heaven, he will ask, then why didn't you believe him? But if we say of human origin, they feared the people, for everyone held John really was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, we don't know. And Jesus said, neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things.
There you go.
Mic drop.
Yeah, there you go. We did a drum roll if you were there yesterday.
See, I didn't know.
Reading, which I don't know that I felt great about doing, but it was just what happened in the moment.
Reading. Everyone give me a drum roll.
Yeah, it was like, and they answered, we don't know. So the room seemed to be okay with it. So
yeah, I mean,
honestly, email me later if you weren't, but it reads
honestly, it reads like a satire. Mm-hmm. It's like all this buildup for neither side to really give you anything.
Yeah, because it's not a genuine, like, we actually don't know.
Right.
It's we don't want to tell you.
Yeah.
Because no matter how we answer you, which is where we launched into the sermon, it doesn't put us in a good position. I mean, there's many reasons why they don't want to answer him. But within the text, the question is like, if they answer him and they say that it's from God,
right,
then, well, they have to listen to him. Like he actually has authority. And if they say that it's from John, which would be the from man, well, they believe John to be a prophet. So if John's a prophet and he gives Jesus the authority, then Jesus has the authority. So it's not a genuine, like, we actually don't know the answer, please help us. It's no, either answer we give,
we're stuck.
Yeah,
we so our small group works a week ahead. And so one of the things we talked about was that the teachers of the law, the elders, the chief priests, they're being perfect politicians.
Yeah.
They're not giving.
Well, politicians never say we don't know, but they may not answer
give
the
you
question.
An answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
they're not going to genuinely.
I mean, they're not
answering.
They're not answering the question either. Like they're kind of just like, meh. We're gonna just play the middle ground here and hope for the best.
And that goes behind like the real motivation. So again, because it's not just that they don't know, because they have these two options, and either option puts them in a corner they don't want to be in. But even say that they do know, well, they don't want to submit to his authority.
Right.
So they don't want to give an answer that puts them underneath Jesus's lordship.
Because if we look back, it says that they were afraid of Jesus because the people were following him. There it is. Yeah. They sought for a way to kill him, for they feared him because the whole crowd was amazed by his teaching. So like Jesus is jumping into their realm of authority.
Yeah, it's peeling back the layers of the onion. It's like they don't want to give him an answer because if they give a certain answer, then they have to submit to his authority. Well, why do they not want to submit to his authority? Well, because then it challenges their authority.
Yeah, they lose control then.
Yeah, and so they ultimately don't want to answer him. And and so then what we did yesterday, for those that were there, that's the last time I'll throw out the joke about it. It's just more fun than anything.
Jabbing at me. It's okay.
I don't care. But for those who were there yesterday, what we did was there's really two answers that are given in this text.
Yeah.
that defend Jesus' authority. Because one would be the answer of like divine authority. It's from God. So Jesus is, even by raising a question, he's raising a question that answers, well, what authority does he have? Which is what we did. We spent the rest of the sermon going, let's actually answer the question together. By what authority does he do these things?
Yeah.
And so one option is that he's divine. So that was number one in the text. Number two that pops out of the text, if you go from the from man question, and then you could say that, well, he also has authority because he's fulfilled prophecy. He's been prophesied over. And so two of them we said came from the text. And then there were two more that like, they're not directly within this text, which I'm always really careful to do. Like I don't want to use a text on Sunday morning just to be a springboard into another conversation.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes when the text doesn't actually answer the question, it's right for the believer to go, let's now go answer the question.
Yeah.
The question that it's posing, let's go answer it. And so that's what I was trying to do.
Right.
Which is kind of, honestly, I was just reflecting on this with someone else, a young preacher. And I was just telling one of my favorite things about preaching more regularly is I don't feel confined to a certain structural system in preaching.
Yeah.
I've sat under many different teachers with very different styles, and they all have their methods and their approaches, and there's ones that you default to. And so most of my sermons take the same format, but every once in a while it's fun to come to a text and go, my format doesn't work well for this text.
Let's practice something else.
Yeah. And so like, if I would have approached this text and said, well, the main idea of this text is blank, and here's the 3 ways we see that main idea played out, which is what I typically do, I don't think it would have been the best way to answer this text. It was, what is actually the big question that's approached in this text, which is,
by what authority do you
do these things? And then it was, well, how do we actually answer that question?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a different format, but I think it was fun. And I had some people, even my wife, say when they saw the first slides, they're like, oh, we're going to be here a long time, but we zoomed through it pretty fast. So it went okay.
Yeah, if I would have been
shorter than normal.
For a while.
Yeah, it was shorter than normal even. So,
oh, cool. Where did you go first then? Like,
we talked.
We're answering the question.
Wanted to do the two that were in the text, and so we started talking about his divinity.
Yep.
Again, when we say his divinity, so I've shared this before, but typically the way I work through a passage is on Monday morning. I treat the passage like it's a devotional text. On Monday, some point, may not be in the morning, and on the really good weeks, my outline begins right there. Like I've already got something, but I'm really going, how does this speak to me? And so for me, I had written down 4 different ways that I was like, Jesus's authority is represented and defended in Scripture. And the first was, I wrote down his transcendence was the term that I used. Transcendence meaning that his authority is not from this world.
Yes.
It's given to him outside this world. And again, another way to say that would be it's divine. It's given directly from God, the divine being. And so I had a transcendence originally down, and then we talked about his divinity. And we don't need to go through all of them, but really what we were laying out is that there's these implied examples of his divinity throughout Mark's gospel.
Yeah.
Because throughout Mark's gospel, there's this, and correct me if I'm wrong, the term is like the messianic secret. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so Mark is not always forthcoming with like, this is directly what Jesus says, but there's these questions that are raised. And so throughout his gospel, there's many implied examples of Jesus's authority over things, but not as much direct, claims of this is who I am. But when we look to other gospels, we look to like Matthew's gospel. And you give me the example that you were asking if I mentioned earlier.
Oh, I said Matthew 28, the Great Commission, where all authority on heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations.
Yeah, which is an explicit claim.
Yeah.
That is a very claim by Jesus. And so we looked at both of those things. We said, okay, what are the implied examples we see through Mark's gospel? And then what are these explicit claims? Yeah. So implicit and explicit would be the appropriate way to say it, or implied, or it wouldn't be applied, but you get the point. Yeah.
And even when you think about the way that Mark has structured his book, he tells you who he believes Jesus is
100%.
In verse 1.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God.
Yes.
Period. And then The rest of the book, you have to basically ask yourself the question, is that really who I believe Jesus is? And he gives you all of these examples to play off of.
Which in God's sovereignty is what makes chapter 12 such a cool stopping point for us. And sometimes things play out in a way that are better than we could have ever planned. We don't have the foreknowledge. We just and this is where you see God working things out for us. But one of them is that we said from day one, hey, Mark is writing this gospel because he wants you to know who Jesus is. You're trying to answer this question yourself. And then we pause on a chapter that's kind of this pausing point of Jesus kind of raising the question, or the question being raised to him, who are you? What authority do you have? And so it's such a fitting way to kind of pause.
Right.
And then now let's look at Old Testament prophecy, and then let's come back in from here.
It's going to be good, guys. Yeah. So from there,
Divinity was the first one.
Yeah, we went and we looked through the book of Mark and ways that Mark is implying that he has direct authority from
so
God
we talked about his ability to teach.
Yeah.
They said he teaches like one that's not like the scribes.
Yeah. They were amazed.
Yeah, they were amazed at his teaching. We talked about his ability to forgive sins, and which is referenced.
Who can forgive sins but
calling
God alone.
The disciples, equipping the disciples to send them out to do ministry, and so there's just these examples throughout the gospel that it's clear that God has given him authority that no one else has.
Yeah. Even over diseases and healings and the demonic, he's able to handle all of it because he has divine authority. So you went from divine authority to what?
Declared.
Okay.
Which again, and this is, I think alliteration can sometimes be goofy. I also think it can be helpful for the purpose of memory.
Yep.
And so declared, what we're really talking about is prophecy.
Okay.
This is where the second one played in, kind of the if he was from John. And so we did a very loose, and again, this is where I was really moving outside my wheelhouse because apologetics is so not a discipline that I live in often. I can appreciate it, but it's not like my favorite study or way to think about God. And so, but we just brought to reminder that, Jesus has fulfilled on the small number, we would say 300 Old Testament prophecies. Some would claim over 400 Old Testament prophecies in his birth, life, death, and reign. And so we just I didn't even read all of them. I just mentioned some of them just to remind us that hey, these things were written far before Jesus ever set foot on this earth. And it's not as if he had this, I was thinking about it again this morning. I said yesterday, it's not as if he had this scavenger hunt list that he was going around checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
Which
I did this.
Yeah.
I did this.
Yeah. Which in one sense, that'd be ridiculous if he tried to do that, but impossible once you start adding them all up. But even beyond that, I was thinking this morning, it's not like they had printers to even make scavenger hunt. It's like the you would have been doing all this from memory and handwriting. I'm like, it'd be even harder than if he had a physical list of how to, look like a Messiah. But again, it's Jesus fulfills all of these prophecies. And then therefore it's you should watch him and go, oh, this is why he has the authority to do these things, And so those are the two that I would say are clearly in this text, 100%.
Yeah.
Then there were two that aren't. But while we were there, I was let's talk about them anyways.
All right. So what's the first one?
Yeah, it was documented. So in this case, again, that's for the purpose of alliteration, but we're talking about his ability to uphold the law. That Jesus' knowledge of the law, Jesus' understanding of the law, which is referenced, throughout Mark's gospel, Jesus' ability to interpret the law and apply the law, it is a representation of his authority.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason I thought that was important in this discussion is because who is posing the questions to him other than the scribes and the Pharisees? So
the chief priests.
You would think that they would see this and go, oh yeah, he's got something that I should submit to. I mean,
well, either that or, they're the ones that are supposed to be the ones who are interpreting and applying the law.
Yeah.
And, there's an old Jewish statement. You get 3 rabbis in a room, you get 5 different opinions.
Yeah.
So they all have different opinions, even within themselves, of the way it should be interpreted. And Jesus is not even on the same playing field as they are.
Which is said, And you've even referenced this, like when they say by what authority, there's this idea that underneath the text that they very well might be saying, like, who actually taught you these things?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Because every rabbi has to have another rabbi who's training them.
Who's your, and so it's and again, I think it's just like natural for us, like, even though it might challenge us in our pride, but when we're around someone that has expertise in something that we want, we tend to go, okay, I'll listen to them.
Yeah, but they don't recognize it. Like they just refuse to submit to it because
it's a challenge.
They don't see his authority as being valid.
Yeah.
So
again, the third one, like it's in there. I think it's important for this discussion, but it's not necessarily like directly revealed through the text. And then the last one was demonstrated, really just looking throughout Mark's gospel and once again laying out all the ways that we see Jesus's authority represented. And so, it was a fun conversation. I hope it's something that you can come back to. I think of when you're sitting around the dinner table and people are like, why do you care at all what Jesus has to say? Who gave Jesus the ability to tell me what to do? And you go, well, like, let me tell you, like, God did. Yeah. And I set it up this way. I was saying, even last week as I was preparing, one night I was in Graham's room and Graham was like, Daddy, why do you always get to like make the rules? Why do you decide when we go to bed? Why do you, tomorrow I'm going to be the leader. And I was like, well, no, Graham, like,
it's not how it works.
It doesn't work that way. Well, why? And I'm like, well, God made me your daddy. There's kind of this like divine authority. Like, here's the way that the rules are. Right. I didn't give him any great prophecy about me being his, but it's like, and I was like, oh, there's these defending these claims. And I think it's helpful for us for opposition, but even more so to strengthen our confidence in Jesus, like to walk boldly in faith in whatever he calls us to trust him. So often today, I was listening to something driving over here and it was talking about a theological issue. And it was saying two people that see different on this issue, but both derive their understanding from scripture are closer to each other than the person that thinks different about this issue, but doesn't care what the Bible says. And that's me trying to be very broad and not tell you what issue it was. But what it was referencing is there are a lot of people today that don't really care what the word of God says.
Right.
They don't see it to have any authority. And it's like, well, if we understand Jesus appropriately, we'll submit.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for us to go, this is why I submit to Jesus, is because first and foremost, because he is who he says he is, not even because of the blessings he pours out to my life. So,
I mean, I said it yesterday in my sermon at the Rock. I was like, it all comes back to that first sentence of the book of Mark. Do you truly believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's what this is about too. By what authority is he able to do these things? Who do you believe Jesus is? Yep. That's the question we're asking ourselves. So, got anything else?
That's it, man. That was rapid fire today.
Yeah, that was quick, but it was a good recap.
Yeah,
for me.
If you want more of the details, go back and listen to the sermon. I mean, I think you can find each of these things laid out in there. I did share too in the sermon, like, you want a copy of the notes, like, you can have them. Like, they're pretty simple, like, but just to kind of go like, oh yeah, here's kind of a clear defense of Jesus's authority.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Ascend Bible Church, you are loved. We will see you again on Sunday.